What is up, YouTube? Got a special video for you guys, a long requested one, and no, it is not the Green Silk debut video. I'm working on that one. Well, I say working, but I just don't have Green Silk yet. Okay, when I get her, I promise you guys I will debut her, so stop pestering me. But this video is actually going to be a little bit more of a special one. It's going to be the Guild War defense video that you guys have been waiting for a long time now. Long overdue, I guess, and I apologize for that. But I'm also kind of not really that sorry because Guild War is kind of stale. But anyways, I'm going to be showing a bunch of defenses in this video that you guys can run to get some guaranteed shields in whatever rank that you're in. Maybe not like, maybe if you're Palladium, maybe not. But anyways, yeah, like, comment, subscribe so that I do more of these more often because that's the only way I'm going to do it. Yeah, let's go right ahead. All right, so for the first team that we're going to be talking about on the left-hand side here is going to be Harsetti, Alencia, and Young Senya. And obviously, Young Senya's release has made Guild War kind of a little bit stale, but she's also quite a strong unit on offense and both on the defensive end. And this is one of the teams that you can utilize that are interchangeable with a lot of different units. But here are the stats. Harsetti is going to be a 30k HP, almost 1.8k defense, proof of valor, and we're going to be having some effect resistance and effectiveness. Now you might be thinking, oh, like why do we have effect resistance on Harsetti? Like you need to have effectiveness, right? Well, one of the reasons why is, you know, Fireflan is a really popular defense against, really strong attack unit versus earth units, especially with Young Senya and also with Alencia. So having her to be able to resist like defense breaks and stuns from the Fireflan is really important. If they decide to say like, you know, like bring a Zeo or bring their own Harsetti and they kind of, you know, go to speed RNG, having that immunity check and having that effect resistance to not get those pesky debuffs from characters that basically have no effectiveness is most ideal. Technically, I'm not even super optimized because Firefly has 18 base, right? I'm technically, there's a 2% chance of them hitting on me, so still not super optimized, but this will work nonetheless. Second unit is going to be Young Senya. And you can put this on a protection set build. You can play this on a 240 build in RTA. However, though that build will probably not function as well as having just like a pure high HP Young Senya on prot or on just speed set or whatever. And the reason for that is because the 240 speed variation is more for anti-cleave in RTA at the moment. But if you're specifically looking for just Guild War defense, you can run speed build like this with immunity. Again, same thing for Firefly, right? Or for like Harsetti S1, things like that. Or even like a Monk Seal or Amiru Seal, right? Immunity is just a mandatory on Young Senya. Or protection set, right? Like protection set immunity, speed immunity is fine. Just copy this build here. One of the most important units is going to be Alencia. So Alencia is going to be on Sweet Miracle. Now, my build is actually not super optimized, again, because I don't have immunity on. I just don't have a good boot that can replace this from destruction or immunity. But anyway, I digress. For this Alencia build is very specific because you want to be basically over 40k HP. You want to take advantage of the proof of friendship. You want to take advantage of the damage coming from Young Senya S2, which scales off the frontline HP unit. You want to run Sweet Miracle or Prayer of Solitude if you don't have it, because obviously that extra HP percent you get from the artifact is going to give you more damage for the Alencia and for the Young Senya, right? And so pairing these three together, you are going to want to have the trample EE. You can run the healing one. You can run basically any EE is good on Alencia, but the most important thing is just making sure that she has that super high HP build. Like a generic 25k HP is just not going to do it, right? You want to be super tanky, super annoying, and do a lot of damage simultaneously. And this defense is super cringe to fight because it beats Fireflan, right? The whole idea is you want to encourage people to bring Fireflan. Most people see 2 Earth units, they think Fireflan. But that's why we kind of build our Harsetti and build the rest of our team around that to try to beat the Fireflan comps. And that's team 1. We'll move on to team 2 right now. Okay, so for our second team on the right-hand side here, it's going to be Sea Phantom Politis, Bellion, and Morts. And essentially, the first unit is obviously the most important, is Sea Phantom Politis. Now, you can run her on like a super high F build at a lower speed if you want to tune the rest of your units. But if you're someone like me that plays RTA, something at like 300 top speed is going to be your best bet. Especially if you're in a fort, you want to invest your best speed gear if possible, right? So that you can get that pushback and get that tempo for the rest of your team. Anyhow, you do want to be on Spatial Temporal Fan for this specific defense, just so that you can hide the Bellion behind the stealth, right? right? So top speed, that's all you got to do. Second team is going to be, or second unit is going to be on Bellion. Now, Bellion is going to be on speed and HP and on 3F. And pay attention to the attack. Okay, our attack is 1651. And there's a very specific reason as to why we have our attack set at that threshold and why we have this 15% attack on this helmet. Okay, it's so that we can drag Sea Phantom Politis duels and proc the 3F over and over. Okay, but you do want to have this at a high speed. And the main reason is so that when Sea Phantom Politis does S3, you get the rage, you push them back anywhere between 20 to 40% on the S3. That's going to be obviously a really big disrupt. And if you have this on like a generic, like 200 speed, 180 speed on counter, it's not going to work, right? So you do want to make sure that this is at a higher speed, just so that you have that tempo in your team. Obviously, you're going to be setting for more as well. So Mort here is going to be on Holy Sacrifice. You're going to be having him on a speed build. Unfortunately, if you are planning on using Mort in some Harsetti teams or with Young Senya in RTA or even Arena or Arena defense, that's not really going to cut it for this defense, unfortunately. So this defense, we specifically have him on speed set. You don't have to be this fast. You don't have to be 236. I think anywhere between like 200, 210, 220 is fine. Anything over that is just overkill, right? You really want to just focus on the HP, right? That is the key factor in making sure that this defense works. That's the key factor in making sure Mort works in any way that you use him, right? So that he can ignore effect resistance. And that's why we have him at the 27.4k threshold. EE is honestly completely up to you. Whatever you have, any EE is going to work. Just make sure it's max for as much stats as possible. And Holy Sack is just super annoying. And so, like I said in the beginning, this defense is basically having Spatial Temporal Fan from Sea Phantom Politis hide the Bellion. And that way, when you hide the Bellion, they're forced to hit the Mort. And you're constantly dragging the dual attacks from Bellion and proccing the 3F and just being super disruptive. And this one farms super hard, especially in like the lower ranks, anywhere between like 30 and lower. This farms pretty hard. Give it a try and let me know what you guys think. And on to team number 3. Okay, so for our third team on the left here, it's going to be the Harsetti Mort Fireflan. And before I actually show this defense, I think a lot of people in Reddit especially complain about this defense, and there will be a follow-up video in terms of how to solve it. But I can tell you as much, here's a hint, it's not Shaltir. So that's about as much as I'll tell you for now. Anyway, first unit is going to be on Harsetti. It's going to be Proof of Valor. We're going to be Self-Imprint with Injury and Immunity. And the whole reason why you want to have Injury is so that you have some extra chip damage in your kit, right? You already have Proof of Valor, so you're already really tanky, you're already really annoying. But the injury stacks up really quickly, so if people, like Hal mentioned in chat, if they do run something, let's say like a Yulha, which is the most common solution with Holy Sacrifice into Fire Flan, then the injury is going to chip down that Yulha slowly, and on a miss, that might be the difference on whether you kill or don't kill as the Yulha player, right? So the injury is just really good in terms of kind of trying to control some of the solutions into this defense. And then Mort is going to be your second unit. We're going to be running on a Harsetti villager style build where you basically have like no speed, really high HP, and you want to run Bastion of Perlucia so that you can give as much barrier to your Flyer Flan in the back line. But more importantly, you're having the immunity so that you don't have to deal with any pesky debuffs that come in from the attacking side, right? And obviously at max, this is going to be 30% HP, and 30% of 32k if you're plus 30 is a ton of barrier. Off the top of my head, that's like what? That's like, this might be a bit of a self-report, but like 10k? 9.6k? Yeah, 9.6k. Almost 10k. Fireflan is going to be on Destro Penetration and on Guiding Light. And you might be thinking, whoa, Guiding Light? Like for what? Okay, so like I said in the beginning, okay, you don't want to run Shaltir. If you run Shaltir, you're going to lose to Guiding Light. And the whole concept for this defense is to basically keep your Fireflan in hiding as long as possible, because you're already going to have a lot of damage coming out from Mort S3. You're going to have a lot of damage from Injury Chip. The Guiding Light just hides your Fireflan just so that you have as much survivability as possible. And a lot of people just run like her own artifacts, an RTA build, or Bloodstone. That's not going to be as valuable as just completely being hidden away from the Yulha of the world, away from any like hand guy or Firefly or anything like that. So just be mindful whenever you're building Firefly for defense. Just think about if you can run a different artifact that's not just her own, right? So that is a very strong one. I think this is basically a bit of a noob stomper for sure. So if you're in like the rank like 50 and below, this is going to be super powerful. You're going to farm a ton on defense. Some of the higher rank guilds, obviously there's some pretty concrete answers already, and investing some better gear into those units like Sweet Miracle, Hand Guy, stuff like that, whatever. But if you're in a lower rank guild, definitely run this and you're going to get really good results. So on to the fourth team. Okay, so for our fourth defense, it's going to be community created, I guess, by Mr. Kyle himself. So this is going to be a defense that is going to catch you guys a bit off guard. It caught me off guard when talking about it with the Twitch chat. So I'll populate on screen now where you can see in the Freebills Guild War Tracker, the most popular offense used into this defense appears to be Luna, Polly, and Genua. Obviously, you can seal the ML Ilanav. So in this comp, we're going to be running ML Ilanav here on Bastion of Hope with 250 speed and 200 ER. Now, I will say, Kyle did mention that if you have it at 260, it's going to be a little bit more safe because Genua with Rage buff can be quite fast. But you want to be on this build as much bulk as possible. Your second unit is going to be A Mary, which is going to be putting all of your comp together, basically. You're running Speed Immunity, Fairy Tale for Nightmare at 280 speed. If you don't have Fairy Tale for Nightmare, you can run something like an Abyssal Crown. You can run something like Magic Bubble Maker. But just make sure you're not running Tiger Hell Ancient Book, because that will do you absolutely nothing. Even Proof of Valor would be better than that. And then we're going to be going with Hua-Young here, who's going to be on counter Penset Sigurd. Pretty generic Hua build that most people, yourself and I, probably have built. But the whole idea behind this defense is if you're specifically targeting that offense that I showed earlier, which is the Luna, Sea Phantom Politis, and Genua, the Sea Phantom Politis is not going to be able to push back the Ilanav, right? And because they're not able to push back the Ilanav, even if, say, you do get sealed by a Soulburn Luna, you're going to be able to cleanse it right after and cut in between to remove the seal so that the Genua is not going to be able to actually kill you and be just super disruptive, right? And then at that point, you have Hua-Young and A Mary just constantly dragging into Hua. Eventually, your Genua is going to get sealed and the game's basically over. So definitely a very interesting defense. I'm not a huge fan of it, but apparently it's very popular. So give this one a try if you have these three units, and if you like these three units and you already have them built kind of this way, go crazy. But moving on to our fifth defense. Okay, so for our fifth defense, it's going to be Harsetti, Ruel, and Fireflan. So first and foremost, our Harsetti is going to be on POV, on injury and immunity. Immunity is not super mandatory, I would say. But I think some people might try to do like a Zeo Briar comp with Firefly kind of thing. And obviously in that sense, immunity is really important, right? Just so that you don't get ZOS went into Firefly and stun and then all the death break shenanigans, right? This way it just like eliminates that lose condition completely for you. And then POV obviously just so that you can keep alive and be really annoying with injury. And more importantly, it's really tanky just so that you're able to stay alive as long as possible. So if they don't run something like a Zeo, if they want to tank down with say like a Yulha or a Hand Guy or something like that, your injury chip is just going to be there all the time since it's really hard to kill the Proof of Valor, right? Second unit is going to be Ruel. Now this one's a little bit interesting. This build is really cringe, I'm not gonna lie. The Prophetic Candlestick just allows you to have like really good uptime on your S2 and S3 and just makes her a nuisance to kill. And the reason why you want to have her at this bulk is just so that you're super hard to kill. But the most important stat that I'll zoom in here now is the effect resistance. You do want to make sure that you are above like 120, 130, just because Firefly typically has 18 base. So you do want to have just a little bit over the amount of ER that she has to cover you in terms of any stuns. And typically most people aren't going to run super high F Briars usually. But yeah, mainly you just want to not get stunned by Firefly for the most part, which is why you want to have that ER there. And if you even have immunity, that'd be even better. But I just forgoed it because, why not? And then our third unit here is going to be Firefly. And this is definitely a little bit more of a conventional, untraditional build, I guess you could say, a cheese, if you will. It's an injury pen set Fire Flan. And again, the reason why you want to have injury is because we're already around pretty close to that 12k MCD threshold for damage, but you want to have a little bit of bulk and injury so that you can chip away that Yolha, so that when she does get low enough and she procs her passive, she's not able to kill you, right? And if she does kill you, you have well to revive, you have damage limiter, you're just super annoying to deal with, and you're gonna be constantly putting a ton of pressure on the enemy team by applying that injury over and over. So yeah, definitely a nuisance to deal with, and one of the more cringe defenses because it is a little bit of a gear check. If you don't have the bulk or if you don't have a high enough quality gear to fight this defense, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle, which is why I think this is actually quite a good one for noob stomping. But that's our 5th defense. We'll move over to our last but not least. Okay, so last but not least, it's going to be probably one of the strongest defenses that I've seen come from one of my guildies, Kyle. And on screen now, you're going to be able to see all of the Guild War defense wins that he's had with this defense, and at a very surprising win rate. Now, I will say that this defense is not exactly free-to-play friendly, and it is going to be quite a whale-heavy defense in terms of gear. So if you're a casual, best to probably look away. First unit we're going to be running is going to be Bryceria, who's going to be at 313 speed, basically top speed. And if you can make her even faster, say like 315, 317, 320, that would be even better. Obviously, it's not the easiest, but you get my point. Top speed Briar on Renewed Will, and obviously make sure you get the max speed unlike Xarian because he's a scrub. Anyways, release imprints for our Flan. I'm going to be having my Fire Flan at 273 speed on full damage, and I'm going to have her on Guiding Light and Speed Pen set. The reason why we have her at this threshold is so that when Briar does get her turn to S3, the Fire Flan is going to be able to follow up right after by getting that CR push into activating S3 for our Mort. Now, our Mort is going to be a 234 speed Bastion of Perlucia and speed crit. And the reason why we run Bastion of Perlucia is so that we can buff stack the immunity, the stealth, the barrier for our Fire Flan, just so that you have as much survivability as possible versus like someone trying to run like Harseti into you, or if they try to Zeo cleave you, you have a basically 10k barrier for the backline, or close to 10k, and it would just be really disruptive, right? So if you are able to get that bar S3 off, you get the Fire Flan S3 off, you get 2-turn fear, and now they're fighting a kind of uphill battle, right? They have to deal with S1D breaks from Fire Flan, for being dragged by the Bryceria, and yeah, very disruptive. And I honestly thought this defense was not very good at first when he started running it. I was proven very wrong, as you guys saw. So give this one a try. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or in my Discord, because I'm very curious to see if you guys are able to replicate the same results. And I'm sorry if you don't have a 315 Briar. It just sucks to suck. Just get richer. Yeah. That is going to be our 6th defense, and onto some closing thoughts, if I may.